Oh, hey everybody. Sorry, I didn't realize I went live just like that out of nowhere. I meant to just test the camera to see if it was working, but let me know the audio and video is looking good, and I will be back in two seconds. I put a pot of coffee on, or not a pot, but a cup of coffee. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab that, and then we'll get started. All right. So how's everybody doing this morning? Good to see you guys. I see Paul is here. Erna, good to see you. Robert, Darko, the great Vanzini. Really appreciate you guys coming back every stream, every week. It's been great. But okay, arrange my windows here real quick. And do that. Okay. All right, so there's actually a lot of things went on sale. Some interesting items that, weren't on sale during Black Friday or any other time. And there's a couple of these that really almost never go on sale, but are on sale now. So I will share those with you. And so welcome, for those of you that might be new, welcome to my photography shopping live stream. I do these every week, looking for deals on photographic accessories and, like filters, tripods, camera bags. These are kind of the core essentials. And then time to time, the oddball thing will pop up that it's kind of interesting and neat to have, and might be something you could get at a good deal. So, being the holiday season, we also need to keep in mind maybe buying gifts for photographers. So, if you have somebody that is a photographer and you're not a photographer yourself, some of the things I'm going to recommend are pretty generic with respect to no matter what kind of photography they do, what camera system they have. These are things that they can use and probably don't have. Or if they have one, they could use a better one. So I'll point out a couple of those as well. And let me go over, I just need to do one more quick thing. And I think we're set. So let's go to my deal page. So, and just another disclosure, I'm an affiliate for Amazon and B&H and others. So if you use any of my links that I recommend today, I might earn a commission, on a qualified sale. It's just important that you do click the link. You don't have any ad blockers on, and you do it within 24 hours of clicking the link for me to get credit. So there's a long chain of things to get right before I even make a penny, because I know that I know a lot of people are buying stuff, but then they tell me and I'm like, oh, I never got credit for that. And it could be any number of those things, which is fine. The important thing is that we work together and try to find the best deals and enjoy our hobby here in photography. And also, if you have any questions of any kind of gear you're looking for, I can help make some recommendations there and maybe find a good deal on it, so we can shop together for things you might be looking for if there's something here I don't cover. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna try this button. There we go. So this is just my Amazon shopping page. It's robtrek.com/deals. There should be a link down below to that. directly. I recommend you bookmark that so that you can always come back. I do update this pretty regular, if not every day, every other day with new deals if I can find them. So we'll start off with this one here. This is basically the webcam that I'm using now. And this is the price I paid for it, I don't know, a few months ago. This item doesn't go on sale very often, maybe 2-3 times a year. So now is the time to get one. And I've never seen it for less than $149 and I've been shopping for this thing for over a year. And I finally pulled the trigger on one, and I think it's a great webcam. It's on a gimbal, so you can program it to go to different spots in the room, like I do sometimes. Has all kinds of features. A lot of them I don't use, but the main thing is the quality is really, really good on this, and it's now my primary webcam. I was using my EM10 Mark II until it died, and this replaced it, and it's doing an even better job than the EM10 Mark II did. Okay, this is also really interesting. This is the square filter system, and it starts with a 58mm ring thread to adapt it to whatever lens you're going to use this with, and then it has adapters for these other various sizes. So this is one of the few square hold systems that I've seen go down to 58mm or include a 58mm ring. So this is very suitable for a lot of us that shoot micro four thirds, because a lot of our lenses are at 58mm. Fujifilm has a lot of 58mm ring threads, and then the other ones are more common with some of the Canon and Nikons, particularly the 72, the 77. You'll see a lot on Canon. So I just can't believe this is $40, and they include an ND1000 filter, which is really probably the best one to start out with. For getting long exposures, and then you can buy standard 100 by 100 or 100 by 150 filters to use in this. So if you were thinking about a square filter thread or square filter system, I think this is a great deal. And it looks like you can hold up to 3 filters in this at one time, so you can stack filters. But yeah, I really like this idea, this concept here, or the fact that they include a lot of different rings. So this is a really great deal. I don't, I use screw-on filters most of the time, but there's a lot of people that prefer the square filter system, particularly with like graduated type filters, where like in this one, you'll see that the top part is a little bit darker than the bottom in a graduated way. So these can make a pretty big difference in how you expose for landscape photography, and working with, they have some color filters as well. So it's a very, very creative tool, primarily for landscape types. But I'm sure there's applications, for all kinds of photography using this filter system. Okay, and then this is another interesting item here. I've never seen, a optical, what they call, this is basically a gobo, where you can insert various shapes with these plates here, and create dramatic effects into the background. So you can like put a window back there. There's some examples they included here with like the window blinds. And this can be a lot of fun. I've played with this time to time, and you get the conical snoot with the, I'm sorry, not snoot. You get the gobo with 16 different filters, which is more than enough for most applications. Of course, you can always buy more later. The filters that I see here, the gobos, look like a pretty standard size that you can buy separately. So I like this. It works great with LED lighting, but you can also use this with flash. So either way, this is a great price, $64.50. These sell for over $100 all day long, all year. I've never seen this particular type of product sell at this price point for this quality. Now just keep in mind, you do need to have a Bowens mount lights, adapter or light stand. compatible Bowens mount to use this together with your whatever lighting you're going to use, LED or flash. But you know, if you're really into doing portraits and studio work, this is a way to kind of differentiate yourself and be more authentic and use real lighting instead of doing some kind of AI backdrop or something like that. This came up, you know, these filters rotate with respect to discounts. So this week, the 52mm magnetic ND filter set is on sale. It also includes a quarter 20, I'm sorry, not quarter, a quarter black diffusion filter, which is great for softening the highlights without losing contrast. And, you know, I know one of my viewers bought this and he loves it because he was looking for sort of a softer look to his street photography, but he didn't want to get that halo-y soft lighting. He wanted just to soften it a little bit but maintain really good contrast. So the black diffusion filter would do that. The 1/4 filter is a good median strength. So that's where I recommend you start. And if you want a little more, you can get more, or you can get less effect later. But 1/4 is about the standard that I recommend most people start with. And this 52mm filter thread is a little bit of an oddball. I don't see this very often in modern lenses. I see this mostly on older, like Nikon and Minolta. Minolta is like 49. A lot of the Nikon's D lenses were 52mm threads. So, you know, if you have a 52mm ring thread on a lens that you like to use a lot or want to try using these kind of filters, this is a really good deal. 25 bucks for a magnetic filter set. It includes the carry case. I mean, that alone is worth $15. And then we have a dummy battery. This is for the, you know, here are the models here, A6400, A7Rs, A7S. So this is the smaller NPF-W50. This is the smaller of the two batteries that Sony uses. But it's still a very popular size, as you can see from all the various cameras that this works in. And it just works through a USB-C power bank, or, you know, whatever you want to plug this into. Any kind of USB-C power supply will power your camera. And these work great. I use these a lot, particularly for long exposure photography, you know, time lapses, and also for webcamming. You know, if I'm going to do live streaming, I used to hook up my EM10 Mark II to a dummy battery like this, so you get virtually unlimited power to your camera. And moving down, this is very unusual. I rarely see this grip on sale. Partially because I'm not looking for it, because I use a more generic grip that's about half the price of this. But if you want an OEM, original OEM system grip with the shutter button on it for your EM5 Mark III, this is a pretty good deal. Now you can find them used, but a lot of times they sell for this price. The cheapest I ever bought one, I bought one for my EM5 Mark II. I got it on some weird clearance for like $35. And so I jumped on it. But usually I see these grips, if they go on sale at all, or if you can find them used, they still go for like 90 bucks. There's a couple of backpacks here, and you know, these are basically budget entry-level backpacks. You know, they should last you a couple of years at least, with care, maybe 5 years. But you know, I like these because they have plenty of dividers, lots of room in them. It's a nice canvas material. It's a good size here. It holds lots of stuff. And Mosisu is a pretty well-known brand when it comes to making backpacks and things. They're sort of the one of the staples in the backpack and bag world for camera gear. When it comes to third-party stuff. And Lots of people have bought the Mosiso brand and have been very happy with it from previous live streams that I've hosted. This is something a little bit new. It's $38.49. A little different design. You know, it has sort of these snap buckles on the outside, but it has a squared off top. So it's actually, that should make it easier to put things in and out of, not just like shirts and your lunch, but actually camera gear fits easier in these more square compartments than sort of these rounder ones that you see a lot of times on the top of these bags that have the cinch on the top. And there's a couple of pockets inside there, side pocket, and then on the other side we have the tripod holder. So, you know, all the things that you would look for in a standard backpack. Front pockets here. So I like this. I like this for the price. And then there's another backpack here from Osisu. This is a little bit smaller than the one we just looked at, but it's a bit more traditional, where you're going to open this up from the front. And, you know, and there's also side pocket, tripod strap. It's just a little bit smaller, but plenty of dividers. It's a great backpack to get started with if you're on a budget. And again, these backpacks, you know, I would expect to last you 2 to 3 years with, you know, with regular use, but 5 years if you're, you know, just kind of a weekender time to time. As long as you don't overload these things, right? As soon as you start overloading and overpacking, even a quality bag, you know, they can start to rip and tear. So don't overstuff these bags. Use them accordingly. Take care when you take them on and off, and they should last you a long time. Okay, and then I'm going to get through a couple of more items, and then I'll go to the chat section and answer some questions. I found a couple of filters on sale here at a good deal. Again, here's another 1/4 filter. You can see even 50% off, this filter is still like $17 all by itself. And that's actually a pretty good deal if you're going to buy one off. And it's in the 58mm filter thread size. So again, it's very good for like the 12 to 45 f4, which is a great video and photography lens. And adding a 1/4 filter, you know, black diffusion filter might give you the exact look you're looking for, because sometimes people don't like that clinical sharpness in their images. They just want to soften it just a little. And you can do that directly with one of these kind of filters. Here's another ND1000 filter, 14 bucks. I bought a couple of filters from Greenell. They you know, they make as good a filter as anyone else. And I didn't have any problems with the last ND1000 filter I bought from them. And now it's also, the 58mm thread is on sale. So again, 12 to 45 f4 Pro, 40 to 150 kit lens. You know, there's a lot of lenses that will fit this filter directly. And it's a great deal because you can see all the other sizes are quite a bit more money. So $13.99. There's also a coupon here to get it another $1.40 off. So make sure you check that. And of course, the ND1000 filter, this will give you like 30-second exposures in broad daylight, just to give you some perspective. So it's for long exposure type photography. And it doesn't have any effect on the image quality. And then one more filter here. This is in the 55mm thread, is on sale this week. And this is a variable ND2 to 400, but it's also a true color filter. So you're going to have to do less work in post-processing to correct the white balance. So I really like this. There's always going to be some shift in color with these kinds of filters, but it's minimized quite a bit when they actually claim true colors. And this is a great deal for a true color variable ND. And again, I've used a lot of newer filters, you know, this brand here, and they've been great at really good prices. You know, it's not top tier, you know, filter, obviously, but I have yet to be able to really see any difference when I'm using their ND filters and their polarizers, any effect on my image quality in the kind of shots that I do. So 55, I have a lens that this will fit perfectly on. but I really need a polarizer. I don't need an ND filter. An ND2 to 400, this kind of filter is ideal for videography and flash photography. So it'll allow you to open up your aperture a little bit more to allow more light in while still being able to use flash and stay within your sync speed. So a lot of photographers use this for flash photography, and videographers like it for videography to, again, maintain that shutter angle in their video work. Okay, another nice small bag from Osisu. This is ideal even for Micro Four Thirds. I would say this would be like a camera and 2 lenses, or a camera and 3 lenses. For more APS-C and full frame stuff, that's like a camera and 1 lens, maybe 2. Just to give you some perspective on size, because it's really hard to tell from the photos how much can this really hold. It just has a single divider, and in the photo here they have a DSLR and a DSLR lens. So that translates easily to Micro Four Thirds, camera body and 3 lenses, or APS-C, camera body and 2 lenses. But if you're shooting a full frame, probably the camera body and 1 lens, maybe 2 if they're smaller primes. Tripod strap on the bottom, and what I like about this, well, nice jeans, but what I like about this is the straps are stitched into the bag. I much prefer this. Well, it's not really stitched in, but it's, the loop here, it has a really interesting hook loop type design. So the loop itself is stitched into the bag directly, and then the belt is replaceable. But I kind of like that. So yeah, it has a, comes with a rain cover. There's another picture, camera and 2 lenses. That's going to be tight. I looked at the dimensions of this bag right here. It's 9-inch by 7-inch tall by 4 inches deep. That's I believe that's the exterior dimension. So it's going to be even a little smaller inside. So you can imagine, right? It's going to be a little tight for full frame DSLR type cameras, or any DSLR type camera really. But 16 bucks, that's not a bad deal. It's a great little everyday bag, especially for Micro Four Thirds shooters. And K&F has a nice little tripod here on sale. Again, this is basically a budget entry-level type tripod, but this is pretty good quality. And, nice flip lock type legs, which I prefer now over the twist lock. Like I said, I was a twist lock guy for a long time, but now I prefer the flip locks. Has a pretty decent ball head, and spring-loaded clips on the side to adjust the angles, and of course you can invert it, with the removable column. So it's pretty versatile, fairly well made, and it's a good price. Okay, and there's a few other things here. Let's see, I wanted to point out, this is a really good deal. If you need a micro SD card, 1 terabyte for 70 bucks, that's a killer deal. This is a very good deal on some lithium-ion AA batteries. You get 8 batteries and the charger for 20 bucks. That's 5 bucks less than I paid for mine. These come in various generic brands. This week, this particular brand is on sale for 20 bucks. That's cheaper than any other set that I could find. And then, I only put this up here because last week I talked about, someone had asked, what's a good compact camera? And, I recommended the ZV-1. And this is a battery and charger set for the ZV-1. So, and it's on sale for 20% off. So, and it comes with a couple of spare batteries. So, I think this is if you have a ZV-1 or any of the other camera models listed there, this is a pretty good deal, and it never hurts to have a couple of spares. The spares are, these generic batteries never last as long as the OEM or original batteries. But you get a couple of them for virtually next to nothing in price, because the charger alone is worth probably $15. So they're giving you the batteries for free. And having the charger, being able to close the top of the case down, makes it very, very travel friendly, that you can just put in your bag and not have to worry about the batteries touching each other and exploding, or falling out and losing them in the bottom of the bag. So I like the fact that the case closes. Also has some very simple 4-bar LEDs for battery level indicator. And there's also looks like a micro SD card slot in there. If you use those, so you can put that 1 terabyte SSD card in there that I recommended earlier. All right, $80 for 15-inch digital picture frame. That's a deal. These have been selling for $90, over $100 all year. So if you've been thinking about getting a picture frame for yourself or as a gift, this is a pretty good deal. And there's a few other things in here. I talked about a lot of these things last week, but down in here, these are kind of gift items for photographers. Hand warmers, pretty generic. I picked these specifically because they have a good milliamp. You can use them as a power bank to charge your cameras and phones. It also has a flashlight built in. And on top of that, having a flat top and bottom means you can stand them up on the table. And they're also magnetic, so if you want to stick it somewhere to add some light, and use the flashlight, you can stick mount it to the trunk of your car, somewhere in your trunk, to give you some more light when you're looking for things. So this has a lot more functionality than a lot of hand warmers that you see, on sale, because a lot of them, they're round and you can't lay them flat, or they don't have a flashlight, or they can't be used as a power bank, or whatever. They don't have everything, and this particular one has it all. So that's why I really like these. And $20, that's a good deal for these, even though they don't say they're on sale. These are a good deal. All right. Yeah, the air duster. Every photographer needs these. Just a quick comment on this. This is a good deal, of course, $32, considering the RPM here. But when you look at air dusters, you want to make sure that one of the nozzles have brushes on them. A lot of the air blowers that they sell don't have brushes on the nozzle directly, and that's far less useful than having the brushes on the nozzle directly, because otherwise you have to brush separately with one hand while you're blowing. Yeah, it's a hassle. It's better to have the brushes on the nozzle. So that's why I specifically picked this one out, even though there are a lot of different air blowers on sale right now. This is one of the few that is a good deal and has the brushes on the nozzle. And it comes with some spare brushes here on the side, which a lot of them do, but this is one of the few that have the air brushes on the nozzle. And go through these items here. There's memory card holders, multi-tools. These are great little stocking stuffers. Oh, there's the 62. This is still on sale from last week. The 62 millimeter filter size. This is an ND only filter kit. Screw on, but you know me. ND filters are our core accessory for every photographer. So this makes a great gift to yourself or to anyone, and that's a really good deal. So that's about it. I did get this. This came in. This is working great so far. I haven't had a chance to play with it much because I had to make that other video. But I will start taking this out more, along with some other items down in here. A lot of this stuff I own myself, and I use them all the time. This is great. This bag's back on sale. This is a great little bag, $16. It's either this one or the Mosisu. Either one will do very nicely. And another backpack here in the 30 something dollar price range. Lots of dividers. It's on the smaller side, but it's a good, it's a good starter size. and some mics. I'm using this microphone right now, actually, with my Insta360, and I've noticed a marked improvement in the audio quality of my videos. Hopefully you guys have noticed that too. And then of course some other Insta360 products, some more filter sets. You know, my number one favorite camera of all time right here, the OM3, is on sale. I recommend you get it with the 12 to 45 f4 Pro, like as it's set up here. Tamron 28 to 75 for Sony, $699. No brainer. No brainer. If you have a Sony camera, you need to get that lens. If you don't have the 40 to 150 lens for your OM Systems camera, you know, this is a no-brainer. $169.99. TG7, great little compact camera. OM1 Mark II on sale for $1849. I mean, a lot of great deals in here if you go down and look at these things. And then I'll mention, let's see if they're here. These two tripods right here. These are carbon fiber, an excellent deal. This is a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter than the one here that's like $90 more. But it's very compact, great for travel if you don't want to carry a bigger tripod. It's significantly smaller in size and weight than this one here. But this one here has an interesting feature with the inverted ball head, and you know, very high quality, all metal everywhere. And the inverted ball head has a separate rotator for indexing and doing panoramas, because the leveling base is separate from the rotation. So this makes it great for doing panoramas and getting nice, you know, getting great stitching. So this is the tripod that I carry around with me a lot now, over say what I used to carry. But I always bring like 2 or 3 tripods with me. This is one I usually take in the field with me, but I usually have 2 other tripods in my trunk. You know, one ultra compact travel, and then one a little bit larger than this one, but it's better for doing multi-row panoramas. So because it has a fluid head. But anyhow, this is a good sort of in between, right? It's a great travel tripod, but it's big enough and tall enough and stable enough and has enough features to it that you can use it for a lot of things, like I said, including doing single row panoramas effectively. But yeah, so I can highly recommend those 2 tripods. And then a lot of other little things down in here. All of these are a good deal. Articulating tripod. You're never going to see these for much less than this. I've never seen one ever sell for less than like $70. So this is right at about that price point. And, you know, it's an entry-level tripod. So again, it's going to work well. And as long as you take care, you know, don't beat it up and throw it around. Take care when you use this, and it should last you a long time. So those are the main things I wanted to cover over at Amazon. So again, just go down to my deal page, check those out. Lots of good deals. I can recommend just about everything on that page without hesitation, given the price point that they're at. You know, of course, you can always buy higher quality stuff. I mean, I know a lot of people are of the mindset, you know, buy once and you're done, right? You don't have to ever buy it again. But I found in photography, I had that mindset early on, and I bought some really expensive things that I don't really use. So I think when you're starting out, it's okay to buy entry-level type products that are decent quality, and see if you actually really use them as much as you're going to. And then it's at one point you're going to realize or understand that what your needs are better, and that's when you can really invest in a high quality piece later. But I don't recommend just buying like the most expensive thing, watching all these YouTube videos about all these high-end tripods or gear or whatever it is, trying to convince you that this is the best thing ever. Then you buy it and you end up not using it, or it doesn't meet your needs. So I really like, I'm kind of of the mindset to encourage you to buy these more entry level but decent quality products that I've listed here to get you started, and it may carry you forever. I have stuff that I bought cheap that I'm still using today. And even though there are better products available, but they're at a much higher price point, I just don't need that if the cheaper one is working for me. Okay, so let me go to the chat section and see what's come in here. Here's my chat window. I need to just drink a little bit. I've been talking for too long, I think. Okay, good morning, Gray Vanzini. Paul, good to see you. Erna, good to see you. And Erna has a question. Why do zoom lenses have biggest apertures pretty small? They usually start around f4. Why can't they be f1.2 or something? Because the lens would be massive. They would just be massive. Because you cannot, well, look at it this way. Like, let's take a 24-70, just a standard, mid-range telephoto. If you want f1.2, and let me just read your question one more time. Why do zooms have the biggest apertures pretty small? They usually start around, why can't, okay, so the way aperture works, or the physics of lenses works, is you divide the focal length by the aperture, and that is going to be the minimum diameter of the entrance point for the light. I'm not talking about the front lens element. Typically the front lens element is bigger than the entrance pupil inside the lens. So let's take 70 millimeters and divide that by 1.2. Am I doing this right? Yeah, because 300 divided by 4. Okay, so 70 millimeters divided by 1.2, right? So I get 58.33. So that means somewhere inside the lens, you need at least a 58 millimeter diameter inside the lens to allow that much light in at 70 millimeters. And that's gonna make the front element be typically at least 62, but probably 77 millimeters, like much larger, because you have to account for the casing, the lens motors, and then additional lens elements, because at the wide angle, right, 24 millimeters, the front element has to be big enough to cover that area. I mean, I'm not explaining this well because I'm not a lens designer, but it's primarily, the problem is the aperture on the long end, right? You can't have a 58 millimeter entrance pupil somewhere in the middle of the lens at 70 millimeters, right? And not make the lens huge. It would just be huge. And all of the moving elements inside. And it would drive the cost up. Now we're talking $20,000, $30,000 for a lens like that probably. So nobody's going to buy it, first of all. And even if it was affordable, it's going to be so big and massive, people are not going to use it. There's no practical application for a lens like that I can think of. So that's the biggest problem, is trying to make a constant f1.2 lens in a zoom, is because on the long end, the aperture has, the diameter of the lens has to be pretty big. Like 70 divided by 1.2, like a 70 to 200, or I'm sorry, 200 divided by 1.2. Let me just check. Yeah, so let's say you have a 70 to 200 at f1.2. The minimum entrance pupil diameter has got to be 167 millimeters. So yeah, something like that. It just doesn't make any sense to do that. It would be so expensive because you have to use larger glass, more complex designs, all of that stuff. And I see Robert's here. Good morning. And Darko, good morning. Audio, video, okay, great. AV is working. Thanks for the feedback there. A lot of chat here. And ATR Bear, good to see you. Ethan, great to be here. Good to see you. Seraphin, good to see you. Jeff, always good to see you. And Darko says, been busy 3 weeks straight, but what do you see in the Viltrox line for Nikon Z lenses? A lot of the sales on the Viltrox lenses are gone, but you know, it depends if you want full frame or APS-C. They have sort of a good lineup on both. But if we just take a quick look, yeah, all of these are, yeah, all the deals are gone. But I can tell you, you know, any of the Nike Viltrox Air series, you know, which is like these two here, the 15, the 9, whether it's, these are APS-C, but they also have some full frame. Here's like a full frame, a 20 millimeter full frame for 170. These lenses are excellent. I have no trouble recommending any of these. They're very small, compact, lightweight, because they're made of plastic. So they're entry-level build quality, but the optics are excellent on these. So depending on what you're looking for, Viltrox will have it. I'm not aware of any Viltrox lenses that suck. All of these are really good. So, you know, I've owned a few of these, and I still have a few of these. I really like, for APS-C, I really like the 23 1.4. It's like 200 bucks. It's cheap. It's metal build. It's really built well. So 23 1.4 for APS-C from Viltrox, excellent lens. For full frame, I really like the 14 millimeter. I think it's an f2 or 2.8, but it's a 14 millimeter field of view, no distortion, rectilinear, super sharp lens also. So on full frame, I'd say the 14 millimeter is my favorite. On APS-C, the 23 millimeter is my favorite, the 1.4. They also make a 40 millimeter, I think it's an f2.8 for full frame. That's also really good. Okay. Also, mid-sized backpacks for walking around the forest with a 400 millimeter lens like the 28 to 400. Ooh, let me look at what the dimensions are on the Nikon 28 to 400. I can't imagine that's a walk-around lens. You're going to need a full-size backpack, I think. Oh, this is very small aperture, though. Okay. So, if I go to the specs, this lens, this is probably the collapse size. 5.6, you know, put the lens hood and lens cap on. It's like a 6-inch lens. Okay. And the diameter is what? 77 millimeter front diameter. Honestly, any of the backpacks I showed today will work. This one's fine. That's going to be a little tight, and it's not a backpack. Yeah, this I think would be ideal right here for 33 bucks. Plenty of room there. That 28 to 400 will fit right there in the top or middle, no problem. But this is a relatively small backpack, but it's a good size for the kind of things you want to carry. If you're just going to carry the 28 to 400 and a couple of primes or another zoom, this will be perfectly fine with some batteries and a flash and a small tripod. This tripod is pretty small, so you want to make sure you get a small tripod. Okay. Good morning, this side towards screen. Good to see you. And Hiker Dude, good to see you. Hope you and Ellie are well. Any recommendations on what to look for in a 32-inch photo editing monitor, 4K IPS panel? Okay, so all question marks. So, yeah. So basically, yeah. So we're going to look at 4K, 32-inch, perfect size and resolution. IPS. If you're going to look at an IPS panel, you want to look at the contrast ratio. Typically you'll see about 1,000, 1,100, but if you find one that's like a 1,500 or 2,000 to 1 contrast ratio, like the one that I have, these are going to be the better monitors if they have like a 2,000 to 1 contrast ratio. You could go as low as 1,500, but if you can find a 2,000, all the better. Even if it costs a little more, it might cost you like $500 to $1,000 for that kind of monitor. Also, when you have these high contrast ratios, you usually have a brighter screen, so you want to look at the overall brightness. Now, people argue, why do you need anything brighter than 100 or 200 nits? Because you're just working indoors. But there are times when you really do want to see a brighter image. If you're doing HDR type content for video work. So if you're a videographer and doing video work, you definitely want to have the ability to set your monitor much brighter at much brighter levels. So I recommend at least 300 nits for a monitor, but a lot of them are HDR10, which will give you about 400 nits. That HDR10 doesn't mean anything. You want to look for VISA like 600 or higher if you want to get into videography and HDR content. Otherwise, any 300 or 400 nit monitor will be perfectly fine, whether or not it has the HDR certification. The other thing is the color gamut, right, that the monitor is capable of displaying. Right now, P3 is the sort of de facto standard now for videography and for photography. Everybody's using a P3 gamut monitor. A lot of monitors will also state their Adobe RGB and sRGB. Just about every IPS monitor from $99 and up have 100% sRGB color gamut. But the Adobe RGB, that's a little tougher. And that's very similar to the P3. Adobe is more photography related, but the difference between, say, P3 and Adobe RGB color gamuts is like this. And I don't think most people would be able to tell the difference. But you want to find a P3 DCI P3 compatible or color gamut capable monitor, 99 or 100% DCI P3 compatible, 400 nits, IPS panel with a 2001 contrast ratio. The only monitors that really achieve that are from Dell and LG. Asus ProArts might do that, but they're pretty pricey. So look for Dell and LG. I would start there, and those typically go on sale. So I'll see if I can find one real quick. So if we do LG DCI P3, 32-inch 4K. So this one is, wow, that's a good deal. This is a 90% DCI P3. HDR10, so it's going to have probably at least a 300 nit bright, but more like a 400 if they state it. %90 is really good. It's not 100%. 100% is better, of course. I like this one. What are the reviews like on this? Oh, 4.4, not bad. Let's see. I'm just going to go down and see if they have any more specific specs, like contrast ratio. I mean, HDR10 kind of implies a contrast ratio, but that's kind of the missing thing here. Is they're not telling us the contrast ratio. So it's a little bit of a mystery. I assume you're going to get at least a 1,000 to 1 contrast ratio. So let's just say that's what this is. But that's why the price is what it is. So I'm going to add this to my deal page because this is actually a really good deal, even if the contrast is only 1,000 to 1. Okay, let's see what else comes up. Here's the Dell S3. Yeah, this is not bad. This is really good. This one usually had, yeah, this has a 15 to 100 contrast, 95% DCI-P3, 4K 31.5 inch. This is an excellent monitor also. So I'll put that there. And then I'm just gonna pick one more out. What is this? This one they don't say. This has the HDR 400. DCI-P3 is 86. I would skip that one. Because this is not an IPS monitor anyway. I can tell by the contrast. If the contrast ratio is way over 2000 to 1, it's not an IPS monitor. It's probably a VA monitor. Let's see, 100% sRGB. The BenQ's $1,000. This probably has it all, right? 100% P3 or 95% P3. Oh, they added some USB-C pass-through daisy chaining. That's why it has a lot of features. I don't imagine your budget is 1,000. I think this is the monitor I have, or very close to what I have. Yeah. But anyway, that'll give you an idea. You know, you want to make sure they list the contrast ratio like that Dell. What the DCI-P3, 90% or better. I like 95%. If they can do 95 or better, but 90 is close enough. And I wouldn't worry about the HDR certification. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Let's see. Would using the EM10 Mark II as a webcam not overheat the sensor after a few hours? No. Never had a problem with overheating. And I've run that sensor for hours and hours, many times. I would leave it on all day sometimes when I'm recording a video, because I would use it for talking head type videos too. Never, never, ever had a problem with overheating. And Clinton says, good morning, Robin Evans. So good morning, Clinton. Buy the 52 millimeter magnetic filter set and the 46 to 52 step ring. So many MFT lenses use 46. Yeah, like the 25 millimeter f1.8 is one. The 17 f1.8, they both use the 46. And then you're set. The quarter 20 black diffusion filter by itself is $40. Yeah, yeah, unless you get them on sale like the one I showed today, right? But thanks for sharing that experience with us. And let's see, Clint says the Panasonic 15, the 45 to 150. Okay, so these are some of the lenses that use the 52 millimeter filter. Thank you. That's good to know. I'm not as familiar with the Panasonic lenses, so that's good to know. And good morning, Roger. Good to see you. And looking for a 10-stop ND filter and 72 filter size, good quality. Okay. Let me re-look at the one I had on my deal page, because the one that is really the best quality are the, in my opinion, the K&F Nano Series Gold. So you need a 62 and a 70. So I did not have any 62 millimeter threads here. Okay, so let's just type it in. Okay, so in this list, oh, there's a whole set there for 25. You know, these are going to be fine, honestly. I think this is on my deal page. So if you want a 62 millimeter ND1000, I would just get this, honestly. I didn't notice any difference in image quality when I used these. And I've tested these like on a Canon R5 Mark II. You know, larger filter, of course, but and they're perfect. But what you will notice on the more expensive ones is a little bit better anti-reflective properties. So you're not going to get, like, if you're pointing the lens into a bright light source or a point of light, like the sun is a good example, but any point of light, you're not going to get that reflection that you see a lot of times with these higher. Sorry, I don't know why the OBS dropped out. 28. This is a good filter right here. So I'll add this to my deal page so you can find it easily. And let me just see. This is the Nano X series. Yeah, ultra low reflectivity. 0.2. So if the filter is any good, they're going to state the reflectivity indexing here. 0.2 is good. I've seen as low as 0.1. I can't remember where. It's probably a really expensive filter, but let me see. This is okay, not that one. This is the Nano X. Gotta make sure I get the name right. Nano X series. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I would go with this filter and just get the size you need. You said 62 and 72. So $100 for the pair. And this is the magnetic set. I don't know if they sell these as direct filters. Because you might be able to save a little money if you don't get the magnetic set. 62. Let's see if they have a non-magnetic one. This has the ND1000, a polarizer, but I thought that's the Nano X. Okay, this one is, yeah, this is one that I bought. This is a really good one. $33. That's not bad. So if you don't want to get the magnetic one, you can get this one. So I'll put that on my deal page. So they have it in 62 and 72. So still, you're back up to about $100. But either one, magnetic or not magnetic, this is the one to get. This is the highest quality that I could find at at a decent price. Okay. Chuck says they started making color e-paper picture frames, but they're pretty pricey. 300 plus. Oh, yeah. Those would be nice though. But yeah, $300, that's a bit steep. Any OM lenses on sale? Just a few. I showed a couple earlier. I don't know, but what are you looking for specifically is the question. But the 75 to 300 is on sale for $499. The 40 to 150 kit lens is $169. And those are really the two best deals. If you're looking for something else, I didn't see really anything that you couldn't get any other time of the year at a decent price. But let me take a quick look. You know, there is not anymore, but all the generic lenses here. Yeah, it's just this one. The 30 macros for $319. That's okay. That's an okay deal. I guess you know these two lenses. A lot of the lenses have jumped in price this year. Late this year. Yeah, the 20 millimeter 1.4 for 700. So these might be good deals now. They don't feel like good deals because they were much cheaper just like 3 months ago. But now they're a bit pricey, and this might be it if you want to buy brand new. But yeah, I don't see anything that stands out in particular other than that's not bad. Yeah, that's it. Really, just the 40 to 150. This is the best deal right now. The 60 macro is not bad at $499. That might be the new low price. Because you used to be able to get this for $399 on sale, brand new. But you'll have to go to the used market. Okay. There we go, lenses. Okay, so yeah. Pretty much same thing we saw earlier, right? And Ethan says, where did my... Ethan says, a question about product on DoorView. They had a question about what OM should come out with next for a camera. What is your recommendation and opinion to prime them for success? Yeah, well, I talked a little bit about this on Sunday, but and I talked a lot more about it a couple of weeks ago. But I'm all for like an entry-level camera in the $500 price range that has just about everything but weather sealing. And it needs to have subject detect, phase detect with subject detect, like animals, birds, people. It needs to have a mic jack. And yeah, that's primarily it. And then, all our computational features that we normally have. It basically needs to be like the OM3, but maybe, at a much lower price point. So you can kind of handicap some of the speed and IBIS and other things to bring it down to 500 bucks if possible. But there's a lot of computational things and autofocus things that shouldn't add too much to the price, right? Because you're going to use the same sensor as in the OM3, same processor. Where you have to compromise is probably going to be on the IBIS, obviously no weather sealing, and battery life is going to be a problem, right? But somehow they need to get to about a $500, maybe $600 price point. Because the problem is they need to get new people into the system. Right now, I feel like the only people really buying into OM systems, for the most part, are existing users or fans of OM systems and Olympus. And they are getting some traction in the wildlife community for new customers and converted people. I do see that time to time, as well as for macro. But these are very, very niche, right? Overall. Or it's one niche. I don't want to say it's very niche. It's one niche of all of photography. Getting new customers, they need to be, more broad in their marketing, and they need to be able to connect with buyers on a psychological level. It's not just about checking boxes on a list for camera gear and for features on a camera. And this is something Fuji does very, very well, right? Because they do check a lot of boxes on their cameras, but not all. A big one is autofocus, right? People are complaining, this way till Sunday about their autofocusing. And but somehow they still manage to sell out and hard to get their stuff. Whether that's by design, by intentional, or if there really is that much demand. But they're doing a lot of things right in their marketing where people just want their cameras. Like the Fujifilm X-Half doesn't even shoot RAW, but yeah. Who else would dare to put out a camera like that other than Fujifilm? Nobody. Nobody would put a camera out like that other than Fujifilm. And charge what they're charging for it. Raising the price on the XZ4, now it's like a $1,700 camera. I get it, inflation and other things, but yeah, it costs more or the same as an XT5. That used to never be the case. But they can do that for whatever reason. They are connecting at some level with their buyers. So marketing is a big one, and also an entry-level camera. Because let's just go to B&H, okay? Digital cameras. Mirrorless cameras. Well, let's not even do mirrorless. Let me uncheck that. How do I uncheck that? And then sort by best sellers. Or no, I'm sorry, sort by price. Okay. We'll select mirrorless cameras because I'm getting too many hits that way. So let's see what we got here. Canon R100. Canon R100 with a kit lens. $529. Lumix G7. God, this camera's been out, like 1,000 years. And it's still available. $547 with a kit lens. Another Panasonic. Canon R100. Another Panasonic. Panasonic GX85. Still available with a kit lens, 12 to 60. Nikon Z30, $600. Another Z30. Canon R50, $600. Another R100 with a couple accessories. Panasonic G100. Canon R50. $700. Where's Olympus? OM Systems. I'm going to go all the way down here. Sony ZV-E10, $698. ZV-10, $698. 6100. 6100. Okay, page 2. What am I doing? 25 per page? I don't know. Ah, finally on page 2, $699. That's what $200 off. Then the R100 again. EM10 Mark IV without you know, $700. Some more Panasonics with some other accessories. Okay, so you get the idea, right? We have 25, because I think I was doing 25 per page. Other camera and lens combinations between Canon and Panasonic before you get to Olympus. All right. When I sort by price. And, you know, granted, there's a lot of things on sale, so things are shuffled around. But even if I took everything off sale, the list would be very, very similar. You're going to have like a full page of everything except, you know, OM System Olympus. And if I have to keep scrolling, we won't see another OM System Olympus camera until we get to the OM5. How many cameras are under $1,000? A lot. A lot. And then we won't see another OM Systems until we get to the OM3. How many cameras are between like $1,000 and $2,000? A boatload. And the only people going to buy a $2,000 plus camera from OM Systems are people that already love the system, for the most part. Like I said, other than niche wildlife and some macro, there are some new buyers there. But yeah, they need to get entry level. Now, you might think I just destroyed my own argument, because look at how many entry level cameras Panasonic has, right? On that first page, a lot, right? The 100, the G85, even the old G7. But none of those have phase detect or subject detect. They're all but old. I mean, they are old cameras. And they might be selling well for Panasonic. I don't know. But, you know, what I'm saying is, if OM System comes out, okay, let's bump it from 500, let's say a $700 OM System camera. But it needs to have everything, not like the OM5. OM5 Mark II was a little bit of a disappointment to me because it didn't have like all of the latest. I love the sand beige color. Don't get me wrong, I would buy it just for that. And that's a little bit of a hint into my previous thought about you need to connect somehow on a psychological level with your buyers or with people buying. And that sand beige color did it. But the problem with sand beige is the name itself. Why'd they call it sand beige? Like the most boring name you could possibly give a color. Let's call it sand beige. I mean, if they called it something exciting like Desert Storm or whatever, you know, they could have named it something, give it an exciting color name, you know? And that would be a good step in the right direction in connecting somehow. But you do that, you connect with them, with the buyers on a psychological level, and you come out with a camera that's only like $600 or $700 that does just about everything. And they can do it, right? I think that will get a lot of new people in the system. And once you have new buyers into the system, even if that camera is selling at virtually no profit, you need to get a lot more new people into the system and excited about the system and see what it can do. Because every time I show somebody what I can do with my OM3 or any of my OM System cameras for that matter in Olympus, they're like, wow, wow. Yeah, we've been doing that forever. We were the first ones with subject detect, maybe image stabilization. You know, we were the first with a lot of things. And we've been doing this for a long time. And a lot of camera companies have caught up and they're doing that now. But I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this since 2015, you know, when I got into Micro Four Thirds. And there's still things they don't have, like live comp. But you know, a lot of people want to see more resolution, they want to see better dynamic range, etc., etc. None of these things are going to make any difference to people when they buy a camera, when they're looking at a camera, just because we checked a few boxes. We have to connect at a different level, somehow psychologically, and make the cameras exciting, right? Um, and make them affordable and get people into the system early. So that's what I think. I don't know. That's what I would like to see. As a long answer, but that it's a really tough subject because we're such fans of Micro Four Thirds that you know, we can be very passionate in our opinions on what they need to do next, and I appreciate that. And I don't know what's the right answer. Maybe the right answer is coming out with a 25 or 30 megapixel sensor, or coming out with another flagship that just, you know, knocks it out of the park. I don't think that's going to cut it, in my opinion. If you come out with a $2,500 flagship camera that does everything, it's not going to cut it. You know, let's say it does everything better than a comparable camera at that price point, like a Z6 III or whatever the latest is, A7 V. There's still some areas Micro Four Thirds is not going to perform, right? Just because of the physics of the sensor size. It's going to excel everywhere else, but everybody always hammers on the negative points, right? If I hammered on the negative points about Fujifilm or Canon all the time, let me tell you, you know, they would not be doing well. Not because I'm saying it, but let's say a lot of people are just hammering, you know, everybody on YouTube is hammering on the negative points. Like the Canon R8, the Canon R6 Mark II. These cameras have serious problems. But their price point for what they deliver is exceptional, right? So what do people hammer on? They hammer on, man, you know, at the time, the Canon R8 was like 1,100 bucks. For 1,100 bucks, you're getting a full frame camera with you know, 24, you know, anyway, all the hype that came out with the R8 when it came out. For $1,100, nobody cared that the battery life sucked, right? They were like, $1,100, carry spare battery, okay? But Micro Four Thirds does not get that kind of hype. A lot of people online, they go the other way and try and harp on the negative things that really are, you know, a little bit overstated, right? Like the noise performance. It's not as bad as people think, or as people say all the time, you know, from these full frame type people. But anyway, yeah, affordable entry-level camera, OM20, that connects on some psychological level in the marketing, and I think they'll do well, but just my opinion. I could be way off. Yeah, DP review. I missed that question. Rob, can you suggest a tripod head that can be adjusted up and down without losing the leveling that had been set? Yeah, so you need a fluid head, basically. Okay, I think I have it in my tripod page. Let me take a quick look there. And it depends how much weight you want to put on it, right? For Micro Four Thirds and some few prime lenses, you'll be fine with this head. Where is it? This one here. The capacity here is what? 4.8 pounds, weighs 4.85, but it supports up to 5.5 pounds. So cut that in half, you know, like maybe 3 pounds is the max I would put on this particular ball head. But yeah, this is an inverted ball head. And if you raise and lower it, you don't lose the leveling, right? Because the ball head, the leveling is right here. This is the one I recommend. If you need something a little heavier weight, you're going to have to go with this is another one, but it's not available. This one here, what's the weight capacity? Newer makes these. This one's not bad. This has an independent leveling base to the rotation, and you can tilt it up and down, right? But this one should have a much higher weight capacity. Standing mini supports 11 pounds. Okay. So let me give you a link to this page. There's a link to my tripod page. And that'll take you to this page, and just scroll down to the different ball heads that I have here. But I really love this inverted ball head here. Otherwise, you need to look at the newer one here. Yeah, these by Leaf Photo, these are good, but they don't stay level when you tilt them. You'd have to get a leveling base. You'd have to combine it with one of these. Because you're tilting, changing the level, and you're rotating, right, for panoramas. So that's what you need to do. That's why you need these inverted ball head types. Okay. Yeah, meaning up and down the horizon. Yep. So yeah, fluid head, where the leveling base is separate and the rotation is separate. That bend row is the perfect one. But if you need more weight capacity, then maybe get the newer. Okay, well, that's the problem. I have no clue what I'm looking for. Oh, okay. Yeah, I forget what we were looking for. I keep thinking about a new XT30 Mark III. Claims the focusing is much improved, but I want to see more vids on it. Yeah, it's not. Much improved over maybe the XT30, but I don't know. I'm not that familiar with the XT30 Mark III. Everybody says it's the same thing as the XT30 Mark II. And I had the XT30 original, the Mark I, and it was fine. I mean, autofocus is fine. I wouldn't sweat it. If you're doing, yeah, honestly, I think the autofocus is fine on Fujifilm. There's plenty to complain about if you want to focus on the autofocus, right? Like a lot of videos, there's so many videos out there about how bad the autofocus on Fuji is. But I found that just for my everyday shooting, photo walks and things like that, it's fine. I don't know why people are giving such a hard time, but I'm not pushing the autofocus system or doing weird things with it or using it for work or portraits where I'm taking, a few hundred shots and then like half of them are out of focus. That's just not what I do. I'm just going out and shooting casually with it. And in that scenario, the autofocus is perfectly fine. Used my sand beige last week. It was great. It struggled to focus at nighttime, Christmas parade, but most would, yes. My OM3 struggles at night. But that's partially because I was using the 12 to 45 f4. If I had a faster lens on, like a prime, a 1.7 or 1.8, the autofocus would have been fine, but it was struggling a bit with the low light. Okay, thanks. Yep, no problem. All right, so I think I got to all the chat. Let me check one other thing here. All right. I think we're all set. So if there's no other questions, I will call it here. Thank you so much for joining me today. You guys have a great rest of your day. Have a good week, a good life. I will be back on Friday for photo editing, God willing, and this coming Sunday for our regular photo chat. We did a little bit of that today, amazingly. Talking about the OM system cameras, but we have to sometimes, right? That's a good question by Ethan, and lots of interesting things you guys were looking for today. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. So thanks so much for watching, and I'm repeating myself, but I will see you guys again soon. Thanks for watching.